I have made what is officially my last full playthrough with this game. The game that caused the 2010s era of Sonic to have the controversy it has to this day. I am, of course, talking about Sonic Forces. It's also no surprise that this game has been the most hated main series game in the Sonic community. People destroy this game on a daily basis, which is why I will never center a video on this game ever again after this. Aside from maybe mods. Before we begin, I think it's worth saying that it's okay to either like or dislike Forces. I am not one to shame. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. It's totally optional though. Anyways, let us tear into this game one last time. Let's get the story over with, since this is arguably the most hated part about this game. It starts out with Shadow being on a mission to cover Omega during an attack, but then he gets beaten up by the main villain of the game, Infinite. Infinite turns evil and all-powerful due to him being too weak and unworthy of an assassin. I'm dead serious, that is the main reason why we're stuck dealing with his ass. Shadow gets a taste of the Phantom Ruby's magic, as it creates illusions that can replicate the real thing without a soul, or send you to a place filled with all that. We then get to the start of the main story, where Sonic gets to town to help citizens after Eggman sends them out, with Tails doing nothing to help the citizens, or Sonic for that matter. Jesus Christ, how on earth did he get the worst possible treatment in any game? Sonic gets captured, we all think he's dead, then immediately we know he's alive and getting tortured, cutting any emotion away from the scene. During all this, we get introduced to our Avatar character, and they are actually quite chill despite not having a voice. We also get introduced to fucking classic Sonic. Why? Why did he need to be here to appease the fans of the classic series? That's another issue with this game. It tries to appease to all sides of the fandom, but pleases no one. We get Sonic back home, face off Infinite a few times, and got spared after he pulls several fast ones on them, after Knuckles' plan absolutely fails with the whole Operation Big Wave fucking thing. We then destroy the Death Egg that Sonic was captured at, due to it being a resource for the Ruby, but then we learn there is a backup resource for the Ruby at Metropolis. We get sucked into null space, and we get out of there after less than 20 seconds. Why include it here at that point? We go to the final battle, kick both Infinite and Eggman's butt, and then we go home and rebuild. There are plenty of issues I'll bring back to the table, and the reason why will be explained. Classic being here for the sake of being here, and the fact that they tried to make it seem like he was from a different dimension is really dumb since it was never stated beforehand, and the fact it would just be easier to have him just be Sonic from the past. Or not here at all at that point. Knuckles being Commander is really odd since it's stated that he gets distracted easily later on in the game, but also because of Amy being more fitting since she's closer to Sonic more than most. As well as generally smarter than Knuckles and more mature, at least at this point. Shadow's lack of major appearance is kinda bad in my opinion, due to him being the main reason why Infinite is the way he is. Infinite being stated as a robot in base game and mortal in the episode Shadow makes no sense. Infinite's decisions are really dumb since Sonic has proven strong, given that he and his friends are able to beat him on rare occasions and he doesn't really do much to prevent it from happening again. I could go on and on, but I think it would be stating more and more what others say about it, so I'd recommend watching others covering the story of this game. The point is, the fact that the writers thought any of this was okay to put out when making something good, let alone to bring back the series' serious tone, is honestly crazy. If you couldn't tell, I think the story is trash. From tragic moments ending too quickly, character assassinations / mistranslations, solutions being painfully simple and convenient, characters being fucking idiots, bits of missed potential, you name it. Not to mention the short as hell length to most of the cutscenes and the absurd amount of time spent in the world map with text boxes. Let's just move the hell on. Getting into the game itself, we start out with the main gameplay style, Modern Sonic. Us Sonic fans know very well about the boost formula. You go insanely fast with occasional platforming, and with 2D sections to boot. The thing that makes boosting Sonic extremely fun is the joy of finding hidden routes that give a reason to go back.
avoiding/pushing through punishing obstacles, and mastering the stages overall. Sonic Forces doesn't do a good job at any of those things. The level design is by far the worst it has ever been, not only in the Boost games, but at worst out of any Sonic game. Both the main path and alternate paths are mostly straight lines that require no input. There's also just moments where you do absolutely nothing for noticeable amounts of time. I know I jabbed at Nullspace for having its opening being nearly 20 seconds of doing nothing, and that being it for that area, but there are other instances where the beginning and end of the stages have you do several seconds of doing goddamn nothing. Luminous Forest, Lost Valley, Arsenal Pyramid, Final Judgment. It's everywhere. And the thing is, even when you go into the 2D sections or even the 3D sections of Motor Canyon, while there are alternate paths that aren't just straight lines, the fact is, skipping them over with the air boost is far more convenient and arguably faster. This makes the other paths feel meaningless, which just isn't common for Sonic games before this. There's also a lot of these mid-level cutscenes, which also breaks the pacing of the levels as well. And combined with the empty level design, it only makes it worse. Sometimes they can complement the levels after you have a fun time going through what a lot of these stages have to offer. The thing is, if you have a level that already doesn't have much to offer, making long cutscenes with boring QuickTime events isn't making things better. This is both an issue with Forces and the movie DLC from Shadow Generations. Admittedly, the level itself was still pretty good, just not nearly at the same quality as the other 3D stages from Shadow Generations, but still, you get the point. There are some stages less boring than others, but they either aren't memorable enough or not good enough to make up for the amount of boring shit there is here. The handling of the boost controls aren't much better at all. In fact, much like the level layout, I think this is also the worst controlling Boost game. The stiffness is quite frankly unbearable, and when Sonic is locked in a direction, turning to another direction is damn near impossible due to the turning being too little or too much, and no in-betweens. The homing attack having a 30% chance of failing doesn't help either, and neither is the useless double jump. The character handling is truly awful, and that goes for the other two playable characters in the main game. I skipped Shadow mainly because of him being similar to Sonic with only minor differences. The Avatar character suffers from the same issues with modern Sonic but without the boost. Admittedly, the levels here are often better designed than the modern Sonic levels, due to interesting pathways set up by the Wispons. There are a few levels that are actually decent due to this in mind, but again, they aren't enough to make up due to the rest of the levels being that much of a bore. Then we have... Classic Sonic. This is, without a doubt, one of the worst handlings of a 2D Sonic playstyle I have ever seen, with the only thing worse than this is being Episode 1 of Sonic 4. He's somehow too heavy and slippery at the same time. The physics are fucking broken, and the jumping feels so bad. The most confusing thing about it, of course, is the fact that they had everything to work with. The classic games, Classic Sonic and Generations, and even Mania, which released in the same year! Along with obnoxious level layouts, I have no issue with saying that Forces was at its absolute worst with Classic Sonic. As a whole, they really failed in making any of the styles of gameplay fun. Boosting levels in classic stages are at their all-time low, and while the Avatar gameplay isn't outright irredeemable, it still suffers from a lot of core issues that ruined this otherwise interesting concept. And that is my thoughts on this game entirely. The boss fights were mostly whack, and didn't really leave much for me to say on, other than Shadow and Chaos should have had something in that regard. It's a complete disappointment, and one hell of a terrible game. With that said, I don't want to end things on a negative note. A lot of aspects of this game are viewed as bad just because of the fact it's from Forces. I do have some positives to say, admittedly a few. The soundtrack is pretty good, all things considered. It's not surprising for a Sonic game, but I thought I'd mention it. The Avatar level themes, the map theme, the final boss theme, and the main theme, Fist Bump, are all sick tracks.
The game graphically is great as well, and a truly decent showing for the Hedgehog engine too. The best looking areas being the space area, Metropolitan Highway, and Sunset Heights. I also do think the Avatar levels are occasionally decent at their very best, like I said earlier. I liked Spaceport, Prison Hall, and Capital City fine enough. They make interesting use with the pathways used by the Wispons. I do find it cool that you can get different benefits from the different Wispons, and each of them has a cool ability when you get one of their capsules. There was only really one or two of them that I disliked, but overall I thought it was a pretty cool idea, just not executed the best, but it was cool. The levels that I just mentioned are the only levels in this game that have any remote replay value aside from Null Space. Even though this stage has a disappointing as hell startup, it carries most of the amount of interesting pathways in the game, with some of them actually having value. It's not remarkable or anything, but it's the best level in Forces if you ask me. I also do think the story could have worked better if it did better with the war setting. This isn't something we had before in a mainline Sonic game, so something like this could be extremely cool if it executed right. In fact, I think something like this taking place more than just Sonic's world, or having it being a more personal ride for our heroes would make it more impactful, and it would give most of the characters a true chance to shine, unlike what we got here. Guess that was a way to express my personal love of Sonic X Season 3. The point being, I think the setting of this game was great in my opinion. A second shot at it at an open zone like gameplay style could have been awesome if given a go at it. Good God, that was surely one game that I'll never wish to revisit. As said before, this will be the last time I center a video on Forces, as this is meant to be my final send-off to the game. Really the only reasons why I got the PC version was to get the overclocked mod working, and to get this review out. I plan to make a scripted review on Sonic 06 as well, the other hated mainline Sonic game. That can wait though. Sonic Forces, as a whole, is genuinely one of my least favorite games in the entire series, and definitely my least favorite in terms of mainline games. This game is straight up horrible, and not one I recommend to anyone. However, I feel like this is an opinion that's been stated over and over again. It's over 8 years old and we're still bashing this game. I understand that 06 had this worse, but that doesn't excuse the fact that we've been discussing our hatred with the title on repeat. I really hope that 2026 is the year where we can finally stop mindlessly talking about Forces. Admittedly, it has slowed down a bit in recent months, so I hope it stays that way. To those who hate the game, that's fine, but what I'm saying is that we can let it go. Just let it go. There's one thing to be happy about, it's that Sonic Team learned from their mistakes. 5 years after Forces, we got Sonic Frontiers. I don't think this game is perfect by any means, the cyberspace stages aren't that good, the combat could be a lot more, and it could use some polish, but I had too much fun with the open zone gameplay to really care. I didn't care that much about Sonic Superstars during 2023, but we also got the Frontiers DLC, including all of the playable characters that were missing since 06. Then we got Shadow Generations, one of the greatest games we have ever gotten for this franchise. That being a game also supporting the open zone like hub world and some of the best stages we have gotten in 3D Sonic history. The only drawback from that game was the fact that we were still relying on the old stages, but just doing different things with them. This was an issue with both Forces and Frontiers, among many other things. Given that more than ever that Sonic Team is taking feedback, the next mainline Sonic game has a strong chance to be something special if given the right treatment. In the meantime though, I am perfectly content with where we're at currently, as we got great games, both mainline and spin-offs alike. That's all we have for today though. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you all next time.